How's it going, guys? Grimsie42 here, and I am back with part 2 of 5 of my gigantic Midwest Gaming Classic haul. And as I said in the first video, this is definitely the biggest weekend haul I've ever had in my entire life. I definitely went overboard. Knowing this collection, well, it's about my collection, knowing that this convention was coming, I had definitely saved my pennies, and I spent a few more pennies than I had planned on, but I definitely got some really cool stuff, and I'm happy to continue to show you guys what I picked up for the collection. So rolling on, I'm going to show you guys, I picked up actually a couple of PSP games. Now, some of you may not know, I actually do not enjoy playing handheld systems. There's just something about it being so close to my head, it irritates my neck, but at least in the case of the PSP, you can actually plug it into your television and use the console as a controller of sorts, so I'm okay with that. And also I've noticed that the PSP had just a ton of really good games that were exclusive to the system, so if you want to play them, you better get a PSP, unfortunately. And luckily the games are actually really inexpensive, and I think they shelve and display very nice. So long story short, I grabbed a couple, and both of these were published by one of my favorite publishers, Atlas. I grabbed as many Atlas games as I could on this trip, and the first one is a shmup, and it is R-Type Command. And see if I can open these complete. I try to only buy complete games when it comes with a case. I'm a lot less picky when it comes to carts, but this next one definitely looks really interesting. It's actually a collaboration of SNK and Atlas, and it's Metal Slug xXS. Definitely a big fan of the Metal Slug series, second only to Contra. I've been trying to pick up as many Metal Slug games as I can. There's actually a really good Metal Slug collection for the Nintendo Wii, and it's really inexpensive, so search your local GameStop or do the little internet search. And if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, I actually made a video on how to find games easily from GameStop, which I will link below, so definitely check that out. Very helpful if you're looking for anything that's hard to find for any system that GameStop carries. So definitely check that out if you haven't yet. Moving on though, this one here, I thought I got a really good deal on, but it turns out it wasn't as good of a deal as I thought. I paid $10, thinking this was still like a $40 game, but it recently went down to $20. But still, it is Walking Dead Season 2 by Telltale, and the first one was really good, so I was definitely excited to grab this. It's one of the ones with no manual. That's just how this goes. They take manuals from us in the current era. This next one here has 30+ games, and it's got some really good stuff on it. I think I paid $10 for this also, and it is Midway Arcade Origins. And I love these compilations because it brings your classics to the HD big screen, and it makes it a lot easier to play them because the PS3s are working really well as long as you take care of them. So definitely cool to pick up another compilation. This next game has been the bane of my existence for the longest time. I actually played through and beat it with my cousin way back, probably in like 2011, when I went down to visit him in Houston, and I really enjoyed it. Not as good as part 4, but there was a specific version of this game that, me being the picky loser I am, I had to have, and I'll show you and then I'll explain to you how silly I can be. It is the Resident Evil 5 Gold Edition, and as you can see, it's got the outer slipcover here. Now, to explain what I mean when I said I was looking for a specific version, there is a PlayStation Move compatible version, and I have no intention to ever use the Move. I find it to be silly, but this is how most of the PlayStation Move versions looked. However, very few of them actually came with this outer slipcover that also says PlayStation Move. So a lot of times when you see the game, you'll either see it like this, or you'll see it with a slipcover, but the game or the slipcover will not say PlayStation Move. I believe they just reissued this multiple times. Don't know whether or not it's the hardest to find. Don't honestly care. It probably is the hardest to find because it's the one I've looked for and never found. I wanted it because A, it had the slipcover, and B, it was the most up-to-date version, so there's the highest possibility that bugs have been fixed, that it will include extra content right on disc, and also with the PlayStation Move, if, you know, whatever I ever decide I ever in life, which I won't, want to use one, I can. So it just, basically, I like that all of my options are open. That's basically what the point is. It's not so much that I would play with the move, it's that I can play with the move that enticed me to want to get this version. This next game here, I first actually saw in person at my buddy Mr. Sintastics' house, and I was quite jealous that he was able to pick it up. And I've been on the lookout ever since for a copy, and I had a 30% off coupon at Gamestop that's stacked with the discount card, and then on top of that I used some of my reward points for a $15 coupon, so I basically paid like $20 for this, and it's about 50, so I was definitely okay with that. And it is Metal Gear Solid: The Legacy Collection. And this game has, or this compilation has, like pretty much every Metal Gear game you could imagine. It's got, on discs, it's actually got the original 2 for the NES, and then it's got Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty, Metal Gear Solid 3, Metal Gear Solid 4, Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker, and then it's got 2 other games I really can't pronounce. It looks like Band Dicini. I'm sure whoever played them is going to be like, you idiot, it's this, and that's fine. They're 2 games I actually have never played, but I'm a huge fan of the series. And then it also came with a DLC code to get the original Metal Gear Solid in VR missions. And believe it or not, the DLC code on this used copy worked, and I have the games, so those are on my PlayStation. I was super, super, super surprised and pleased with that. But definitely happy to get that. I think that pretty much, if I'm in the mood for Metal Gear, it's pretty much there. I'm sure there's a few iterations that are not on there, but that's a lot of Metal Gear. Moving on to the PlayStation 2, I'm actually going to be like anti-chronological. I'll do PS3, PS2, then PS1. My buddy told me to pick this up. He said it's kind of like a Harvest Moon-ish RPG. Being a big fan of RPGs and a completionist, I try to get all the RPGs for every system, and I'm sure this will never get played just because I have such a backlog that this will not be a priority anytime in the future. But it was very cheap. I think this was $1, and it is a copy of Shepherd's Crossing. Complete in box, and apparently there's a sheep on the disc, so ba ba ba. This next one, again, is something I'll probably never play. I believe it's from the same publisher that made Mr. Mosquito, which I have yet to pick up and am looking for. Again, this was $1, and it is Mad Maestro, also complete. This next one here is a relatively older PlayStation 2 game. It's got the blue disc, and it is Yana Kabbalista City Skater. It's just a odd looking game, but just to show you guys what I meant. The original PlayStation 2 games, when it first came out, featured blue discs, and it was kind of like the black layer that they put on the PlayStation 1 games. I believe it was to help in copyright and keep people from pirating the games. This next one here, I apologize, I haven't removed the label off of fully. I thought I owned it already, but I may not, so I picked this up just in case because it was only a few bucks, and it is Capcom Fighting Evolution. And it's a cool compilation game. It's got characters from Street Fighter Alpha, Street Fighter 2, Street Fighter 3, Darkstalkers, and a game that was never released here, Red Earth. So this is probably the only way you can play as those characters in the States without importing. So definitely pick this up for the fighting collection. This next one, a buddy of mine actually picked up for $5 a couple years back, and it turns out it's a lot more expensive than that. It's more like a $30, $40 game, and I unfortunately did not get as good of a deal. I got this for, I believe, $15, but still a very good price based on its current value. And it is a combination of Square Enix and Ubisoft put together, and it is Drakengard 2. And for whatever reason, this one was just obscure. I believe this was late released into the PS2, 2006. So I think this was a late release PS2 game, and as a result, not many were made, so it's definitely a little harder to track down. So keep your eyes open if you find this. Not too bad of a game. Alright, before I show you guys the PlayStation 1 games I got, I did get a ton. I'm going to fly through some more Wii games. Like I said, on this trip I picked up a ton, and these are all complete. I'm only going to show or talk about the good ones for a extended amount of time, because a lot of these are very forgettable, and I'm just going to roll through them. The first one is Pacific Liberator. Next one, and I'm sure I'll get trolled for this, is Dr. Fizzwizzle's Animal Rescue. So, get ready. Here comes the trolling. Don't care. Another Wii game off the list. Next one is Vertigo. After that is Glacier 2. This one here is Majesco published, believe it or not, and it is Blastworks. Looks interesting, kind of a quirky, cheap puzzle game. Believe it or not, I actually enjoyed the movie this is based off of, and I'm surprised they never made a sequel. They acted like they were going to. But it's Jumper Griffin's story, and Griffin was kind of one of the side characters in the movie, so thought this might be interesting. The ability to go anywhere at any time is something we would all like. This next one looks pretty cool, and this character is actually, in my opinion, where the design concept for Mega Man came from. I believe that it was borrowed, and it's Astro Boy the video game, and anyone who knows, he definitely bears a striking resemblance to Mega Man, and since Astro Boy came out in the 60s, I think Mega Man was a copy of it, but just a hunch, just a thought. This next one was a Nintendo published game, and only a couple bucks, and I'm told really good, and it's Excite Truck. These next two and the last two Wii games I'm going to show you guys were both mentioned on Metal Jesus' recent video where he talked about good shooters on the Wii, and I will go ahead and link that below too if you haven't checked it out yet. He definitely points out some really cool games and some games you probably want to add to your list if you are a Wii collector. I definitely refer to a lot of his videos when deciding what I want to buy when I don't have a lot of ideas of my own. He definitely has some really good recommendations, so if you haven't checked him out, I don't know what planet you're on or what rock you're living under, but definitely do so. Like I said, the video will be linked down below. Give it a look. The first one is Gunblade New York and Arcade Hits Mega Pack LA Machine Guns. It's a Sega game, and it's two arcade shooters. I actually remember playing these in the movie theater, but this one was not easy to track down. This one was a bit easier to track down, and I got it at a good price. It is House of the Dead Overkill, and definitely a fun and interesting game. So, like I said, guys, if you haven't checked his video out yet, you'll get 42 Grimsie points if you check it out. Those points are absolutely useless, but it's nice to have them. This next one here, I actually owned this when it first came out. I picked this one up for $3, a lot less than I paid for it the first time. I remembered enjoying it. I'm sure it was just because I was a dumb little, let's see, 16-year-old based on the date this was made. But it's Project Horned Owl, and it's a anime-based shooter of sorts, and you can either use the controller, the mouse, or the Konami Enforcer gun. Unfortunately, I never played it with the gun, to my knowledge, but I do remember the controller serving the purpose, you know, getting well enough results. This next one here looks really interesting, and I paid very little for it. It's Rising Zan, the Samurai Gunman. And as you can see, it's kind of got a cool little cover there. It's even got the sticker still on the top. It's in really, really good shape. Next one here is Evil Zone. After that, there are multiple versions of this. This is Contra Legacy of War, which was featured on a James and Mike Monday. This is in the dual disc jewel, and the reason is this came with 3D glasses, and I believe the manual is a bit thicker. It is a single disc game. Unfortunately, no 3D glasses in this one. This next one here I paid 95 cents for. I believe it was a pricing error because they had another copy for $9.95 in the store, but I definitely got this one because I didn't know how good it would be, and it is Shooter Space Shot. Looked interesting enough for under a buck. This one here I also had as a kid, thought it was really fun. It's kind of Metal Gear with ninjas, that's the way I call it, and it is Tenchu Stealth Assassins. This next one is not in a official Sony case, which I did not notice at the time, but again, it was like a buck, and it is Grudge Warriors. And as you can see, it's kind of got the black strip right there. It's a typical CD case, so oh well, I'll live. Next one, again, was $1, is Boombots, and it's just really, really clean and super cheap. Figured I'd beef up my PS1 collection. It isn't my smallest collection by any means. It's probably 120 games or so, I think. But there was over 1,000 in the collection, so I definitely have a long way to go. This next one is Blaster Master Blasting Again, and not quite as good as the original by far, but definitely cool to pick up another Blaster Master game. I'm a huge fan of the Sunsoft one from the NES. So this next one is actually quite ironic, and I picked it up because believe it or not, and I'll see if you can recognize them as I show you, Wing Commander 4, The Price of Freedom. You probably can't tell, but one of the guys on the front of that is actually Mark Hamill, who played Luke Skywalker and will reprise his role in the upcoming Star Wars movie, which has a lot of people, myself included, very, very excited and geeking out. This next one here is Dungeons & Dragons Iron and Blood Warriors of Ravenloft. Apparently the dark side of 3D fighting. This was like a couple dollars also, so I figured I'd grab it. This next one is Gunfighter, The Legend of Jesse James. Basically, the store that I got most of these just had them for like a couple bucks each. So if they looked even remotely interesting at that price, I was definitely willing to beef the collection up. But again, I apologize, there's a little bit of a sticker on that one. Last couple here. I thought this was an interesting time in wrestling games. Wrestling games have always notoriously been bad, and this one is no exception. I definitely did not enjoy this very much. It came out right around the same time as the N64 wrestling games, but this one at least had the realistic look. It was the digitized characters similar to like Mortal Kombat, and it was WWF in your house. And it was almost a fighting game of sorts. You basically depleted their health bar and then you could just pin them. So definitely a very odd game, but interesting enough. So if you see it for cheap, give it a look. It's definitely one of the more unique games for wrestling goes, or as far as wrestling goes. And the last one I'm going to show in this video, really cool game. I've owned it in the past, and I had definitely had my eye out for it. I got it at a good price. And it is a copy of Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter. And even though I will 100% attest that PS1 and its limited, I believe, 1 meg of memory was in no way capable of putting this game out at the level it deserved, and that the Sega Saturn version, while Japanese exclusive, is infinitely better, I still did enjoy this game, and I believe this is the only game that has Cyber Akuma in it. And he is absolutely broken. If you've never played this, definitely check it out and check out Cyber Akuma. He makes Akuma seem lame in comparison. He's definitely one of the dirtiest characters I've ever used. He made beating some of my friends pretty easy, actually, back in the day. So definitely excited there. Alright guys, that is everything for part 2. If you were not impressed, part 3 will definitely step it up quite a few notches. So I hope, if you have not yet been impressed, which you should have, but if not, you're definitely in for a treat in part 3, and that will be out towards the end of the week. Thanks again for checking this one out, guys, and until next time, take care.